Hello, everyone. Welcome to my show, Curryup Startup Leadership Podcast, a podcast to spotlight world class Asian entrepreneurs, innovators, C suite executives who provide insights and candid wisdom from their personal journey to inspire you. And this is your host, Priyanka Kumla. We are right here on our 76th episode of Curryup Startup Leadership Podcast. So, thank you to each one of you for your loyal viewership and for your support throughout this journey as we look forward to ACE 100 plus episodes. And as a quick reminder, we're doing our 12 days of free Christmas giveaway. So follow me, Priyanka Komla, and a Curryup Startup Leadership podcast page to get amazing free book giveaways, mentoring sessions, and everything you need to get yourself inspired for a brand new 2021. All right, so we have a special guest today with us who is an art curator. So without further ado, let me introduce who that special guest is. Hi, Anu. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Priyanka. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much, Anu Bhat, for being on our show. Anu is the founder of The Rural Painter, where she discovers amazing paintings by rural artisans, and her endeavor is to help these paintings reach a Western audience. Such an amazing, innovative idea, Anu, and I'm so glad to feature you on our show as a special entrepreneur.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And to our listeners who are tuning in live, we're going to offer a free mentoring session, an exclusive mentoring session where you can talk about entrepreneurship or maybe deck your home for the holiday season with some amazing paintings. Want some advice? Anu is right here. So feel free to drop in a quick hello, the country that you're tuning in from, to get this amazing free mentoring session. Are you excited, Anu?
I'm very excited.
All right. So let's get started, Anu, with your journey. So your background is in public relations and marketing, television and advertising, but you transitioned to be an entrepreneur. Tell us, how did that happen from where you were with PR all the way into helping these artisans from Southeast Asia?
So, even though my background was public relations and marketing, I've always been interested in art. And I've always enjoyed traveling. So when I had my kids, it was a little difficult to keep the long hours in television and advertising. So I decided to start something on my own, to be flexible and be around for my kids. So my son was very good at drawing, and I couldn't find an art school in Princeton at that time. So I approached a few teachers because my background was not art, and we incorporated smudges and strokes, and it was an art school for kids. It did very well until my husband came home and said we were moving to Singapore. So a family posting in Singapore led to us traveling through Southeast Asia extensively. We all love to travel. So we covered all the countries in Southeast Asia, from Indonesia, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Thailand. And the one thing that leaped out at me through all these travels is the wonderful art that was created by these talented artists. And I asked myself, how can I help these artists reach a Western audience? And that thought stayed with me. We returned to the US. I put myself through B school with this idea in mind. It seemed to make sense. So I booked a ticket, went back to Bali and Vietnam, brought back a collection of art, hosted a wine and cheese event, and the rest is history.
That's amazing. And I'm so glad you've pivoted to a career path that made it so flexible for you with the kids, especially. But now I understand your teenage daughter travels with you as you pick these hand curated paintings, right? Tell us about that experience.
She does. And that's been one of the most rewarding aspects of running the Rural Painter. Initially, we're about 5 years old now. So initially, I'd pick up a friend from Singapore and we'd travel to these countries. And my teenage daughter one day said, "Can I go with you?" And I was like, "Why not?" And depending on her school schedule, I started taking her on these trips. So she's been with me to Nepal twice, to Bali, to Chiang Mai in Thailand. And we travel well together to begin with. She takes my photographs. She records my interviews with the artists. She has quite an opinion on the art that we're selecting. And I think it's opened her up in ways, and she's learned things that she would never learn sitting in a classroom.
Traveling is a great form of learning. And I'm so glad traveling along with art is just a wonderful combination to have at such a young age.
Absolutely. I've seen the change in her since she's traveled and met with artists and been exposed to all these cultures.
That's amazing. So tell us about the art that's right behind you. What's so unique about it?
So you can see a part of it. It's actually a piece called Devotion. It's from Bali, and it's by an artist that we work with regularly. His name is Kolis, and he's known for creating large Buddhist images. I'll actually just move my screen a little bit
Sure, go
so
for it.
you can see the entire piece. It's a young monk boy with a statue next to it of the Buddha. And what Colis does is every artist is trying to differentiate themselves. So he sticks down paper mache or sand onto the canvas, leaves it out to dry, then brings it in, and then paints with oil paint over that textured surface. So it makes the painting look almost like a sculpture. So it really stands out in a gallery of paintings. So we're always looking for artists with new, innovative ideas whose art would appeal to the audience that we're constantly seeking.
So is your audience primarily the Western world?
It is in the Western world, and I would say we have a mix of people. There are Asians, there are Americans. I think everybody's on the spiritual path who does follow us. I mean, it is a niche market. Our art is Zen. It appeals a lot to the yoga community, especially the mandalas. Yogis meditate to the mandala. So it's an individual preference, but I think a lot of people who are on that inward journey do connect with the art.
That's pretty impressive. So tell us the process. So you go to Southeast Asia. How does the negotiation process work when you figure out an art that works for you?
Sure. So the process actually starts long before we travel to Asia. I travel twice a year to bring back new collections, and I'm introduced to the artists well before I leave. So there's a whole vetting process that's in place. We don't just walk into a store and pick up the art. We speak to the artists, we learn about their background. Have they shown overseas? Have they won awards? So we like to believe that we're not just selling a painting, we're selling a story. And everyone who does purchase a painting receives a write up on the artist as to why he painted this, what was he thinking at the time. So people have a deeper connection to the piece that they purchase. So we're in touch with the artists. We see photographs of the paintings long before we do leave and travel. I go with a lot of pre-orders in hand. So I have a lot of people who would maybe ask me, I'm looking for something in 4 feet by 6 feet for above my fireplace. I'm looking to create this kind of mood in the room. I'm looking for colors in maybe green and yellow. So we're able to show them the art that the artists send us before we leave. So they let us know if they want something similar, so we know what to look out for. So I never leave without having a number of pre-orders in hand. And then I bring those back as well as any other art that appeals to me and I think we would have a market for.
That's a very pragmatic strategy to ensure your clientele, needs are met as well. And I'm so glad you focused on the story behind every painting. So it's not just a painting for the sake of it, but there's always so much of sweat and blood that goes from an artist's perspective as well.
Yes, absolutely. We're portraying the artist's stories and we're offering this as a platform to them. So they are our highlight, and they are the reason I started the Rural Painter in the first place.
No, that's very amazing. And, I'm so glad when it makes me feel so happy when I spotlight entrepreneurs like you who follow a very different path. And, that widens up our perspectives on, hey, here's a career path that you can choose where you're happy, you're traveling, and you're focused on art and helping others succeed.
Absolutely. I think I'm very fortunate to be able to marry my two loves of art and travel. It's what gets me up every morning, and hopefully we'll be traveling again once again post-COVID.
So tell us that with the COVID pandemic, what kind of impact have you faced as an entrepreneur and as part of your business portfolio as well?
So we have faced challenges in terms of travel. We were not able to travel to Vietnam in April as we had planned this year. But I think it's opened up other avenues for us in the sense people are now decorating their home offices. They're decorating their homes. So we've had a lot of interest in that regard. Um, Personally, I'm not really a huge technology person. Um, as a result of COVID, I've had to become one pretty much overnight. So,
That's the best part about entrepreneurship, right? You got to pivot to adapt.
absolutely. So, I was never really on social media. Now, suddenly, my entire market is on social media. And I found that that's opened me up to a worldwide audience. So, I was actually limiting myself before.
It's just your beliefs about what works today. But I'm so glad you're more agile, so you can shift to where your customers are as well. But at the same time, the artisans, because COVID has really affected the small time rural artisans. What are some things that you're hearing from the rural artisans based on the pandemic that's hit them?
So initially, they did send me pictures of their areas being in lockdown. They had to close down their studios. But we have had a few orders that have been shipped into us by the artists. So, to a very small extent, it has been continuing. And fortunately, before COVID, I did make a trip to Nepal. That's one of the countries where the art has been well received in the past. So we knew exactly what to bring back. We brought back a very large collection from there. So I still have that collection that I'm working with.
That's pretty impressive. So tell us this as we are looking at decorating our personal spaces, because your work, home demarcation has vanished. So everybody's trying to find, a place that gives them that solitude to work with focus. And I think art really helps you in bringing positive energy and vibes. What advice would you have for us when you're looking at decorating your house with an artistic eye?
So I think it's very personal. Like I keep switching the art behind me just because I want to see new scenes behind me. Right in front of me, I do have mandalas from Nepal because they help me stay focused. They energize me. So I think it's a very personal thing. A lot of the art that we have sold is the mountainous regions like the Himalayas from Nepal. People want to see something strong behind them. So it's a very personal thing. People kind of send us pictures of their room, so we take a look at the furniture. They let us know what kind of mood they're trying to create, and we advise them accordingly. It's like someone here. There was a gentleman who had a bar area, and he was looking for masculine energy in that bar. So we managed to source running horses for him. And you could actually feel the energy of the horses as they were running. And that's exactly the mood that he tried to create. So I think it's a very personal thing as to what you're trying to achieve within your space.
No, that's very impressive. The positive vibes, the energy that art can help you with is that's amazing. And I'm so glad you're helping a lot of people find that inner peace in whatever way or form they want it.
Yep, we try our best.
With that being said, let's showcase a couple of these wonderful paintings from these rural artisans. Gives us a chance to spotlight the wonderful artisan works that they have. So tell us about this mandala. Where was it sourced from, and what does it really portray?
So this is a Kala Chakra mandala, which is the wheel of time. So a mandala is a wheel with no beginning and no end, and it is the universal symbol of Buddhism. So this is an art form that's been handed down generations from Nepal and Tibet. So we specifically traveled to Nepal to source these mandalas. This is actually a 5-story stupa. A stupa is a religious house that has been flattened. So the square area that you see is the stupa. It's been flattened and it's got 4 entrances. And the enlightened being sits in the center on a lotus. So this signifies our journey and the obstacles one has to overcome on their path to enlightenment. And then the circles you see around the outside represent the elements of air, water, wind, earth, fire. So there's deep meaning in this painting. Each one of the four entrances is guarded by a god. And artists in Nepal actually have to study the scriptures for months before they're able to pick up a paintbrush and paint. If they don't understand the scriptures, they cannot effectively translate that onto canvas. So I find the art in Nepal to be very different from the art in other regions where artists are encouraged to let their imagination soar. So it was interesting just to see these artists studying and then being able to translate, because any changes in the mandala can change the meaning entirely. So this is something that's handed down generations. A lot of the gold paint, they mix 18 or 22 karat gold in it to signify purity. And there is an energy that comes out of these paintings. You may have seen monks that create these mandalas with sand. There are groups of monks. I know they've done this at the White House and various other venues.
At Smithsonian. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So they'll spend months and months creating this mandala with sand and creating all the intricate detail. And then at the end of it, they just sweep it away because nothing in life is permanent.
That brings up a very good point. And I was just talking to Anu prior to the show that it was, it was just very coincidental that I tried to do a mandala this afternoon, as part of a watercolor brush stroke. And I got to learn a lot more about the concept behind it. And, it was very therapeutic, for the hour that I spent just drawing them and, putting all my different thoughts and trying to bring those positive vibes, like whatever energy you're feeling. And I felt just so great. And it taught me a lot about being patient, being curious, and just letting your creativity out. And something else, we were working with an artist who was guiding us through this process. And she mentioned the same thing that you said, where these monks create a mandala with sand, with different colored sand. And then at the end of the day, they just wipe it. You let it go. Hours and hours of creation is gone because nothing in life is permanent. And that just took me back. I was like, wow, we feel so attached to a lot of things in life. And here there's beautiful art where they just wipe it away.
Yeah, it's actually sad and intriguing at the same time, but they're following the Buddhist philosophies. It's fascinating, and these kind of stories come through in every single piece that I source. I mean, there's such a deep story behind every piece.
That's very true, and I've experienced it up front. So yeah, thanks for sharing that with our listeners as well. So tell us this: as you work with artisans, has language ever been a barrier for you? And here you are in action for the listeners who can watch it.
Right. Yeah, I'd love to introduce this artist. He's in Bali and his name is Ketut Budiawan. He's actually become a very good friend now. He's the first artist we began working with when we started the Rural Painter 5 years ago. And he continues to paint for us till date. So every time we go to Bali, we've been there about 5 times. He's always got something new and intriguing and beautiful to share with us. He actually did a series on the Balinese dancer. He painted about 5 or 6 paintings for us.
And I have this coming up here. Is this the painting?
Yes. This is one of the Balinese dancers. This is the one that's left with us. So Ketut is known for his bold brush strokes. He's not afraid to play with bright colors. And one of his specialties is that the background and the foreground are similar. He won't have like a white background with the dancer in the middle. He blends the background and foreground in similar colors. So it's almost an abstract painting, yet there's form within the abstract.
That's very impressive. And for our podcast listeners who are hearing it, you can go check out the ruralpainter.com website or the Instagram at the Rural Painter to get a glimpse of some of these amazing paintings that Anu showcases to her audiences as well. Now, Anu, tell us this. When you look back at your entrepreneurial journey, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I would definitely tell my younger self to take more risks.
In what ways?
I'm a risk averse person. I weigh the pros and cons. And I think once we embark on this journey of entrepreneurship, I think it's important to trust that gut or take action on a hunch. Otherwise, you could miss opportunities. And I'm kind of reaching that point now, but that's something I would tell my younger self. Just go with the flow and go for it. Don't weigh everything out in so much detail.
Sometimes you just have to go with the opportunity that knocks your door. And that's the thrilling part of entrepreneurship, I should say.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think the other thing is just be aware of what's happening around you. I mean, when this social media wave took off, I wish I had embarked on the wave right in the beginning. So just be aware of your surroundings and what's going on around you and stay up to date with what's going on. So that's something else I would tell my younger self.
That's pretty cool. So what's next for you? What are you looking for in 2021 and beyond in terms of the rural painter?
So we're looking forward to getting back into wine and cheese events, with charity events. We've worked with over 20 different charities to help raise funds for their causes. And that's been very rewarding because when I started the Rural Painter, it was with the idea of giving back both to the artists and to society. So the galas have become virtual now. We're still participating in those, but I'd love to take my art into a room, have people see the art and just see that connection happen and see the magic happen. I think I really love that part of it. And we had planned an on the ground event earlier this year with one of the charities. It's called Manavi and it's based in New Jersey. It helps victims of domestic violence. So we had planned an on the ground event, which got postponed due to COVID. What we were planning to do was create a Vietnamese street market and bring in foods from the regions that I traveled to, say like momos from Nepal, satay from Indonesia. And we had tied up with the Indonesian consulate to bring in an authentic Indonesian dance troupe to perform in their traditional gear. And we had Nepali singers. And all of this was going to take place against the backdrop of art from these countries. So we were going to take people through a journey through Asia. So I'm hoping that we can pick up on that event once again post-COVID.
That's very impressive. Giving back, through art, that has a ripple effect in terms of, people valuing the work that you do, as well as helping them with their charitable goals too.
Absolutely. And it's just been so rewarding. We've done a lot of work with also the Shankara Eye Foundation, which provide eye surgeries to the curable blind in India. We've done a lot of wine and cheese events for them. So I'm looking forward to getting back into that aspect of things.
I know. I see you raring to go back.
Absolutely. Travel as well as hosting shows.
That's pretty cool. When you look back at all of this, do you think you were destined to be in such a career, or was it just a coincidence where entrepreneurship just was an opportunity that passed by you?
That's an interesting question. Maybe I was destined to do this because, the posting to Singapore just came out of the blue. We never expected to go there, and traveling through Asia and meeting the artists. So I think there's a path drawn out for all of us. It's just whether we choose to go down that path or not.
That's very true. I have a curious question. Is your house decked with all of these different paintings from your collection?
It is. It is. There's not a single wall that doesn't have a painting. So it's literally like a museum.
In a way, it reflects your personality and something that you're very passionate about.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. So we have a fun rapid fire round for you. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
So you tell me the first thing that comes to your mind in one word if possible. Who's your role model?
Oprah Winfrey.
What does happiness mean to you?
Family.
What does success mean to you?
I don't know if I can answer that in one word, but the freedom to pursue your passion.
One fun thing about you that's exclusive to our Curryup Startup Leadership Podcast listeners.
I'm a closet pianist.
Do you do that as part of your gala events or your wine and cheese events?
No, no, I'm not that good. But I've loved to play the piano for a very long time, but it's not something I tell people.
How do you see yourself, Anu, in one word in your native language?
So my native language is Hindi. I'm not sure how the word translates to Hindi, but I would say I'm tenacious. I don't give up. And whatever comes in front of me, I keep surging forward.
On that note, how do you handle low moments in your life? Or is it always like well designed given the kind of path that you've chosen?
No, I definitely, like everyone else, I do have low moments. But I think as a result of the journey I'm on, I've become a very spiritual person. So I do turn to meditation, I do turn inward. I allow myself to sit in that emotion. I acknowledge it and then I come out of it. So I think I've built coping mechanisms.
I'm so glad you brought that point because a couple of our guests this week, we've been talking about emotional agility, which is a concept from Susan David, one of the recognized, experts in the field of psychology. And she talks about how you have to sit with your emotions. And I see it with a lot of entrepreneurs. And it's fascinating to see how it is an effective coping strategy.
Absolutely. I think, acknowledging it, to me at least, ensures that it's not going to come back in some other shape or form.
That's very true. On that note, we've reached the end of the episode. So tell us about a special gift that you're going to give to our listeners from the Rural Painter.
Sure. I'd love to offer anyone free shipping on any piece of art during this holiday season. And please reach out if you have anything in mind that you want to put up on your walls or any kind of mood you're trying to create. Reach out. We'd be happy to guide and help you. I'd also be happy to offer a mentoring session to anyone, whether it's on entrepreneurship or on how to decorate your home. So I'm happy to do that.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Anu, for your generous offer. And I really wanted to bring you on the show for two reasons. One, your career path, as I mentioned, which is very different. And I've never had an art curator on my show from Asian origin. So kudos to you on following a path, breaking the stereotypes. And two, everybody is looking for positivity. And I feel art, personally, that's helped me in terms of bringing more optimism and cheering yourself, especially in this holiday season. So I felt the rural artisans could benefit from the spotlight, especially from Southeast Asia, through your Rural Painter.
Thank you so much for putting this spotlight on the artisans who are currently hurting. And, we're hoping to go back and help lift them up and revive them as soon as possible.
That's amazing. On that note, we want to wish you all the very best in all your future endeavors and your charitable causes as well. Do you have any parting thoughts to our listeners before we wrap up?
Absolutely. I mean, I just love your podcast. I've been following you. So I'd encourage everyone to hit the like button, follow Priyanka. I love what you do. You've been spotlighting the community, giving a lot of us a voice. And I just find your podcast so enjoyable. So please follow and listen to the interesting talks. And I've learned so much from you.
Thank you so much, Anu, and thanks for your support to our podcast. I enjoy featuring different people from the Asian diaspora, as well as open up our perspectives on how do you embrace life's challenges.
Absolutely.
Awesome. On that note, thanks to all the listeners who are watching this live or will be watching this on replay. Do feel free to drop in a quick hello and the country that you're tuning in from if you're watching this on replay as well. And we will join you again with another interesting episode next week. But until then, do follow me, Priyanka Komla, and a Curryup Startup Leadership Podcast page for our 12 days of free Christmas giveaways, which includes books and free mentoring sessions, just like what Anu has offered. So feel free to follow and drop your name there to win those exclusive giveaways. And to subscribe to us on YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube. So give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe. And this is your host, Priyanka Komla, signing off from Curryup Startup Leadership Podcast, a podcast to spotlight world-class Asian entrepreneurs, C-suite executives, innovators, and allies who provide insights and candid wisdom from their personal journey to inspire you. Thank you.
Thank you.